All right, welcome back to Goonie's World. My name is Goonie, also known as Colin, and I am joined by Johnny Pharaoh, also known as Sean.
Hail and well met, my fellow Northmen.
And Meanie, also known as Ryan.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, and we are back with another adventure, another GURPS Vikings episode, where this is number 4.
Yeah, we've spilled over into 4. Every now and then, we do longer ones. We've played a few long ones, and this looks like it's going to be one of them. We're having a good time, and I hope you are. And so, like I say, you GURPS people have probably figured out we're a little bit fast and loose with GURPS, but we try to stick to the highlights and the main points, and at least attempt to obey the spirit of the rules. But we are back tonight in the world of Midgard, sometime in the Middle Ages, following the adventures of our heroes, the powerful but fearful Thor Thorson, and the mystical but somewhat delusional Umlaut Topknot. They got into a dispute back in Norway with Thorolf Smoochtooth and his brother Yngve Hump, who were favorites of King Harald Fairhair, and they told the king lies about our heroes, and there was a holmgang, or a judicial duel, in which Smoochtooth and Yngve were beaten up and humiliated. So their uncle, Bolg the Bulge, gathered all their kin and chased Thor and Umlaut away from Norway. And you guys went with Thor's girlfriend, Kari, and her dozen brothers, seeking new lands in the west and following a prophetic dream that Umlaut had of finding new homes in a new world. And you did find the islands of Zetland, and stopped there for fresh water and food. And there you had a battle with some Picts, and you lost one of Kari's brothers. I think it was Sigurdsson. I might have to go back and check that, but I'm pretty sure it was Sigurdsson who died. And
that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that was about right. And you defeated the Picts momentarily, and you gathered water, and you looted sheep and pigs, and I think you got some golden torques from them that they had hidden. But you were forced to flee when the remnants of the defeated Picts realized they had had critical successes instead of critical failures in their battle, and came pouring out after you with a small army. And so, sailing away from Zetland, our heroes rode the winds of the storm into the west and found the islands of Foroyar. And there they rescued from a shipwreck Brother Brendan, a monk who follows the new religion of Christianity. And after pulling Brendan on board their boat, they continued into the west, seeking that new land of Umlaut's dream, and that's where we'll join you now. And the day is cold. There's a blustery wind coming from the quarter, and before we go much further, we need to make sure you're going in the right direction, because it's still overcast. So go ahead and make a navigation roll, but because you can kind of see the glowing smudge of the sun behind the cloud cover, and you have already know you're headed west, go ahead and take a nice big +4 to the roll. We're really only worried about critical failures, and because both of you, I believe, have the luck advantage, which means once per game hour you can make 3 rolls and pick the best one. You probably don't have to worry too much about failing navigation rolls and turning around and ending up in, like, France or something.
Passed.
You passed. Okay, good. Well, we know you're going west. Because the wind is coming from the quarter, it's not like directly behind you. We need to make sure you can manipulate the sail and get it at just the proper angle to go due west. So please go ahead and make a boating roll, but take a +2 because you have so many experienced Vikings on board.
Okay, boating?
Yeah, boating.
Okay, I do.
Yeah, it's a skill.
14 in that, and I rolled a 11.
Well, nicely done. So, you guys are very confident you're headed in the right direction, and you think Iceland should be due west. Now, you've heard that Eric the Red went there and found some good land several winters ago. You know, there's a guy named Ingolfur who went there and settled. And maybe that's the land that you dreamed of in your dream, Umlaut. You never know. Yeah. But as you sail, Brother Brendan, after praying to his God, he approaches you two again, and he's like, "Praise God and thank the Blessed Virgin for you Northmen. You know, I told you I was one of the brothers at the monastery of Glendalough, but the Danes, they came and killed most of us, and they burned the place down, and they took our gold candlesticks, and they took our gold-plated statue of the Virgin, and they burned all our books and tore them up, and I was working on a manuscript of the Gospel of Luke. Oh, it was gorgeous. You should have seen it. I spent 3 years on it. I'm going to have to start all over now, but I could see that the Lord God lets everything happen for a reason. So I suppose that he sent the Danes to punish us for our pride, and he sent me to you to save you from your sins. So I ask you, Thor Thorson the Mighty, what, in your view, is the greatest of all sins, Thor?
Well, that is a good question. I will have to think about it for a moment.
Kari looks at you, and you think of all the things you've done with Kari. Certainly those can't be sins, the way you feel about each other. And,
Adultery, maybe,
well,
against Kari. But you're not really betrothed.
No.
Well, I guess
you're betrothed, but you're not married.
Right, yeah.
You have laid in sin together, I guess. But that's okay. It's the Viking way. Our brothers approve.
See, there's a difference between their definition of sin and Viking sin, probably. Very a big difference.
Well, I think the greatest sin then would be to fail in battle.
Ah, to fail in battle. Well, you must sometimes turn the other cheek, but on the other hand, the enemies of God must be smited. And surely you are like a hammer of God. I ask you, you are such a mighty man, Thor. Would you ever consider taking the sacrament of baptism and becoming a Christian?
Well, I don't know. What does it entail?
Oh, it's wonderful being a Christian, and I'll tell you all about it. But first, I must ask your friend, Umlaut. Umlaut, I can tell a man of your gifts can see much that is hidden from others. Can you not see the power of God at work? Would you consider taking the sacrament of baptism and becoming a Christian, brother?
I know many gods. You speak of one god.
Oh, there is only one God. All the gods you know are merely shadows or shades or manifestations of the one great God.
See, that I would have to disagree with.
Well, we must agree to disagree then. I'm not going to push anything on you, brothers, but you'll see by my example over time. And when you see the power of God at work among you, nothing
if
can...
I'm to see some sort of sign, maybe, then I will be convinced. But I have not seen nothing yet. It is always from the gods that I know that give me messages.
Well, surely you will soon see the power of God. You don't need money. You don't need fame. No, we're not going to go there. It's the power of God. So he breaks out into song. And no, since you guys made your boating roll, meanwhile, during this conversation, Kari's brothers have been rowing. And since you made your boating roll, we're going to assume your ship's moving at its maximum move score of 13. So it should actually only take about 19 hours for you to reach Iceland. Not that you think of it, in those exact terms. But if it's where you think it is, so you'll have to sail throughout the night. But the good news is, towards the end of the day, the cloud cover lifts. And the gorgeous northern lights fill the skies once again. And Brendan's just in awe, and he says, look, brothers. I recall the words of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 4. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning surrounded by brilliant light. The skies looked like glowing metal. What we are seeing, brothers, is the angels of God. They're bearing the spirits of the departed off to heaven. Can you not see them, brothers? And, of course, Umlaut, we've said before, whenever you look, you can see something.
Yes. I see. I think this is the work of Thor, the god Thor.
Oh? Now you've seen it before, like Valkyries carrying the spirits of the slain to Valhalla. Specifically what you've seen.
Yes, I see that all the time.
Tell me of these Valkyrie you speak of.
Well, they are the messengers, or they are the vehicles which take the souls up to Valhalla.
Ah, I see. Well, I believe they are the angels. I believe what you're seeing are angels. The Valkyrie and the angels, they're the same. Valhalla is just another word for heaven, brother. So, will you not now take the sacrament of baptism? You and mighty Thor, what of you? Will you not now take the baptism and join me in Christ?
I think there are similarities, but I think I cannot just give myself over to your religion without more proof that that your God is the only God.
Well, as I say, I won't push you. No one likes a pushy monk. If I want to push you too far, I'll be pushed over into the water. But anyway, like I said, you would have to sail through the night, and I assume at some point you guys will try to get some sleep. But Thor, when you decide to go to sleep, will you sleep with Kari? In the end of the boat?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also Thor will ask some questions, internally, sort of. You might call it prayer, but
okay.
but just sort of asking for some kind of sign or symbol, whether this is up the path that he should take,
right?
And I was presumably he might not even get it. Umlaut might be the one who gets it, but he wants he trusts Umlaut. So if Umlaut sees something,
pray for a sign.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Well, when you go to lay down with Kari, and wrap up in your furs, Brendan, I was, oh, no, brother, this cannot be. Do you not know the words of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 4? Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and the adulterous. But, Thor, I have great news for you. If you accept the sacrament of baptism, I can marry you right now. I can marry you and your sweet young Kari. Wouldn't all of you prefer to see your sister married? And Gunnar and the rest of them nod. We admire Thor. Of course we want him to be married.
This is not the Viking way. Don't do it.
Oh, Thor is feeling a little conflicted at the moment.
That means I'm doing my job correctly then.
This could be Loki trying to trick us.
Well, that's actually very Viking.
Yeah, since Thor hadn't really had a chance to do his introspection and prayer type stuff, I think he's going to just sort of nod at Kari and go sleep elsewhere.
Oh, well, she's not at all happy about this. She gives Brother Brendan a very dark look. And but Brendan pats you on the back and says, it's a temptation. The temptation of the flesh is very difficult, brother. But the sooner you accept the sacrament of baptism, the sooner you can be with your good lady wife in a holy way. The Lord wants you to enjoy her body. But first, you must be married. However, you should continue. I can tell you're conflicted. I am here to conflict you. The devil and the angels are at war inside your soul, Brother Thor. Can you not feel them?
I can feel something, and it is much like temptation to throw you overboard.
Well, in that case, perhaps I should say goodnight. And, of course, remember, don't forget you guys are, crowded with pigs, and, you got some sheep and pigs and everything on the boat, too. But the night passes, and you don't see any signs in the night, either of you. But about midday the next day, you do sight land in the west. And as you sail closer, you find a land of towering mountains, and even from a distance you can see there are geysers and hot springs. There's even more than one smoking volcano. And there are huge forests of pine here, this being long before Iceland was completely deforested. In fact, they say probably about 40% of it was covered with forest at one time, but very, very quickly after the Norse got there, it wasn't. There are many, many seabirds, and you can even see some whales frolicking in the distance. And
I didn't know whales frolicked.
They frolic. They leap up and they spew they blow from their blowholes, and they're very happy whales. They're having a square dance.
Oh, are they beluga whales, maybe?
I think they must be.
I know they're in that up north, and they're very playful.
Beluga whales are known to frolic, so we're going to assume that is them.
They are.
Yeah,
they're like dolphins. They like to play around a lot.
Well, I think they must be beluga whales. However, you see no sign of human habitation at all. Now, do you want to beach your ship at the first likely spot and start building a new home for yourself, or do you want to continue to look for some signs of human habitation, which you feel like must be here?
Yet I think it would be wise to find a settlement of some kind and see what we're dealing with this land here.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
I don't know if this is the land I saw in my dream. It looks similar. I remember pines, I think.
Yeah, you saw some tall pines. They had like great dripping beards of moss on these pines. And you remember the naked, painted people that you saw in your dream. But eventually, you sail around the south of the island. There's some small outlying islands. But soon up ahead, you find a big bay. And if, your whole culture is based around settlements inside of sheltered bays, and you know that if any other Vikings had come here, this would have been one of the ideal places that they would have stopped and looked. And you do see at the end of this bay, there is a village, but there are many fissures in the earth here. And there's a great mountain looking down on the scene, and smoke is rising up out of all those fissures. And there's like I say, that village that you see surrounds a log hall, and all that's surrounded by like a ring of turf. And of course the shore is already lined with villagers, as they can see your ship coming in. And several warriors come down just to make sure you don't intend any ill business here. But as you beach the ship, and just need another boating roll to make sure you do so in an elegant manner and don't come crashing in and have pigs falling off your deck and roll over sideways and everything else.
You want to make a good first impression.
Yeah, you want to make a good first impression.
Let's see. Let's impress them and show them what we can do.
And we can just call this the Bay of Smokes, for lack of a better name.
Now I got right on mine. That's good? Still good.
Nope, that's good. That's good. And so with a nice landing, you can hop right off. And in fact, the landing is impressive enough that there's an applause. But the people are all smiling. They seem really happy here, and they're all of Norse stock. They're all clearly. They look like you. They're clearly from your own culture. You can hear them chattering in the speech of the Northmen, which luckily Brendan knows, since he came here to convert people and save souls. But people, as you get off the boat and walk into the village, everybody's smiling at you. They're patting you on the back. They're waving from a distance. "Welcome, strangers! Welcome, heroes!" Says another. "The gods have sent heroes!" Says some others. "You must go and see Ingolfur in his great hall immediately," says another. "Come, this way, brothers! This way!"
Why do you think that we are heroes?
"Oh, well, just take a look at that one," they say, pointing at Thor, who obviously just ripped and looks like a hero. And plus, it is said that the gods would send us heroes. And so clearly you must be them.
Well, yes, maybe we are. Maybe we are the heroes that you seek. Yes. We have not come to do anything necessarily heroic, but we might end up doing such a thing.
"I tell you all, brothers," says Brother Brendan, "I tell you truly, these are great heroes. great heroes. I saw them defeat the Picts. Or I heard that they defeated the Picts anyway. Single-handedly in battle. And they saved me from shipwreck. But anyway, they're walking with you up towards that big main hall made of timbers. And that is the hall of Ingolfur. He is our lord here. And when you burst in, you can see that it seems little different than the hall of Jarl Hakon, where you began your adventures in Norway. As I say, it's made of very heavy, dark timbers. There's a great big central hearth. And there's a great big whaling harpoon hanging over the high table. So you do a lot of whaling up here. There's an old man with a long white beard, surrounded by a half dozen other men who must be his sons. And this man, who's presumably Ingolfur, he seems like he was once probably very powerful, but he's gotten older. There's about a dozen other Karls, or Viking warriors here, and they all rise to greet you. They're showing you honor by doing so. And the old man's eyes widen when he sees Thor, particularly. And he says, "Hail, Thor Thorson." You don't even tell him your name yet. "I am Ingolfur, first among the Karls of Iceland. I knew your father. I knew your father in Norway. Together we sailed to the land of the Rus, and we ravaged the people there. And we ravaged the people along the Volga. And then we carried our Drakars to the Black Sea, and we raided the glittering city of Byzantium, and we ravaged the people of the decadent south. Your father and I did a lot of ravaging. He was a powerful warrior and a brave soul, and when I last saw you, Thor, you were an infant, but now I see you grown into a fine man. Fine man, the very image of your father." Now, it's traditionally you would say something here. He's showing you great honor.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Your name is
Yes, I am Ingolfur.
Ingolfur.
Yes, that is correct. Your father and I were boon companions. But,
I see.
But he fought with Harald Fairhair, and I hated that son of a bitch. Which is why I left and started my own way. Is that what you were doing? Have you run afoul of that king, my good friend?
In the manner of speaking, yes. But his well, he was lied to by and so we were outcast.
Yes, people are always telling lies. Weak men who are cowards at heart are always telling lies. And I see you brought your friend here with his distinctive haircut. And who are you, sir, who has come to my hall? He said to you, Umlaut.
I am named after my haircut. My name is Umlaut Topknot.
Ah. And you yourself seem to be no slouch in the ways of war.
I can hold my own, but I am also gifted in a sort of extra sight.
Ah.
I see things that no others see.
I see. You're a goddy. Is literally what they call him.
A gaudy?
Yeah. Yes, you speak the language of the gods. Oh, and I see you have with you one of these followers of the White God. That's what a lot of Northmen call, Christ. Tell him to stay out of trouble here. They come up occasionally, trying to proselytize.
Yes, he is a little bit annoying. I think he means well.
I do mean well. I don't try to be annoying, your worshipfulness, he said, and he bows very low. Anything I might say is just for everyone's own good, but I agree to respect your hall, sir, and keep quiet. And who is this beautiful creature? Ingolfur says, gesturing towards Kari. This must be your wife, Thor. Your good lady wife.
Well, not yet. We're working on it.
Well, we didn't work on it last night, she says, glaring at you.
That's because of this asshole.
and there's some giggling in the hall. Some good-natured laughing in the hall. Like, even a tough guy like that, he's got to take a little crap from his woman. Sort of laughter. But, no, enough of this small talk. Come, you will move out of the way. He, kicks his sons out of the way. And as you guys come up and displace his sons and sit around him, at the high table, and the sons don't seem too bitter about it. And goes, "You shall be brought flesh to eat and mead to drink." And when he sits down, he has servants come up and give these men gold, golden armbands, golden headbands, golden rings. And the servants are literally coming in and like putting golden headbands on your head, and, you know, putting armbands up on your biceps and putting golden rings on your fingers. "Yes, you know the gods have sent you to us. They've sent a gaudy and a great hero. And as due to our prayers, we've asked Thor, who normally doesn't listen, but this time he has. And he sent not only any hero, but Thor Thorson, no less. Yes, it's obvious that this is fate. You see, we're in great peril here," says Ingolfur. "We're in peril from a terrible monster. Yes, he's killed and eaten many of my warriors." And there's a hush in the hall. Everybody's taking this pretty seriously. "Some call him a troll. Others call him an ogre. Some call him a giant. But we all know the dark name of Wendell, the beast of Mount Estja. Yes, Wendell is cursed by the gods, and unless he's brought to heal, the people of Iceland will never prosper." And then Brother Brendan then inserts himself unasked. "Lord Ingolfur, if I may, the Lord God has seen your suffering, and he has arranged that the mighty Thor Thorson and Umlaut Topknot would come to these shores to destroy this monster Wendell, who I agree is surely cursed by God. I tell you truly, there are no greater warriors than Thor Thorson and Umlaut Topknot, who defied King Harold and defeated the Picts. Praise be to God for sending them to you in your hour of need." And then one of Kari's brothers just says, gives him a dial it back about 30% there, sits him back down. But everyone in the hall is claps and cheers for you both. They're patting you on the back. They keep refilling your mead horns. "And much gold and honor will you have, Thor Thorson, if you defeat Wendell," says Ingolfur. "So will you do this for us? Will you fulfill your destiny?"
What do you think? I think this is a worthy challenge for us.
Have you gotten any signs or anything about whether we should do this?
I have not received any signs or messages about this at all. But maybe sometimes they're not so mysterious. Maybe sometimes they are more direct and they just come right out of someone's mouth. Maybe that is what we need. And also, we are we have been received as heroes, and if we are not going to slay this beast, well, you can kiss all this gold goodbye. We will probably not be welcome here. So maybe we ought to at least go check it out. Sometimes these stories about monsters are exaggerated. Could be some little old deformed person that is getting all the blame for no reason.
I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, surely. So Thor will stand up, and
everybody listens. There's a hush.
He takes his big ass great sword and sticks it in lightly into the ground in front of him and holds onto it with two hands and says, "We shall defeat this Wendell for you."
And there's a huge cheer, and Ingolfur nods with much satisfaction. "A fine man, a bold man like your father. So strong, so brave. As I say, much gold and honor will you have, Thor Thorson. You will be as a king here, after me and after my own sons. Lands will you be given. But first, I must tell you, Wendell lives in a cave above the hot springs of Mount Estja, and there you will find him. And the moon is full this very night, and he always walks abroad and terrorizes people by the light of the moon. So if you go now, while daylight holds, you could catch him sleeping. And do not worry, I will go with you, brothers," says Brendan. "And the power of God will be with me."
Well, I don't know if that's a good idea. Are you able to handle yourself in combat?
Of course. That's why do you think I have this shillelagh, he says, and he holds his, gnarled wooden club. I am no coward I will fight the enemies of God, wherever they may be found.
Well, I appreciate your courage, even though you do not have the look of a warrior. It is not my job to say which person should be allowed to die in battle.
And I, Gunnar, shall go as well, says Gunnar. Can all Kari's brothers.
We welcome help from such good stock as you.
Oh, yes. And I, Bjorn, will go as well. And all of Kari's brothers all agree to go. They all want to go. We would all share in his glory, says another.
But I think that you will share, but the most of the rewards will be given out to me and Thor in the glory.
Of course.
We are told we are heroes, and we must prove ourselves as heroes.
Well, Gunnar is not going to so much as bow, but he does do a deferential head nod towards Thor. They've all agreed to be, Thor's followers, essentially. Yeah.
Well, some of you should follow me too, because I'm, I didn't have a great father, maybe like Thor did. My father liked to whittle little things out of wood, and he tried his hand at fishing, and not very good, but I think that me and Thor are equals, and I don't do a lot of push-ups and all that, but I tell you that I am a great man, and I will lead you to victory. So whoever now wants to join me may do so now.
There's some awkwardness, and Bjorn shrugs and goes and stands over by you. And then
thank you.
And then Helgi goes ahead and shrugs and goes over and stands by you. Ingolfur, meanwhile, has sent for something, and a servant comes in bearing 2 coats of mail and helmets. You shall have each a coat of mail. And he gives you guys a long, sleeved, chainmail coat, and will increase your DR to 5 when you add it to all the other stuff you're wearing. So you might want to make mental note of that at least, or note in your character sheet somewhere. It's a pretty substantial, and the DR, of course, is essentially soak. It's damage resistance. And you're already wearing leather and furs under that. He also gives you helmets, but since we're not using the hit location rules, they're mostly for show. And even though we've veered from realism to some degree, we're not going to veer so far as to have horned helmets. No Vikings. At least according to Graham Davis, author of GURPS Vikings, no Vikings ever wore horned helmets.
No, but we could be the first to come up with that idea.
Yeah.
Like, we get drunk enough, I can see us, someone taking his horn of ale, emptying it, and putting it on his helmet.
It should be like a unicorn, though, like one big frontal horn, right?
Yeah.
Well, sounds like so you guys, everybody helps you on with your armor and your helmet. You look the part of mighty heroes as you stride out of the hall. I mean, everybody's just decided you're going now. There's still daylight left, and Brendan seems really good at, if you guys were wrestlers, he would be your manager. He'd come out and whip up the crowd for you before, Brendan seems to always be singing your praises. And you move out of the hall. Everybody follows you. This huge crowd follows you through the village. And you move out of the village, and eventually people stop following in great numbers. And you move past the smoking fissures and walk alongside a bubbling, steaming stream that must arise from the hot springs of Mount Estia. If you just follow this steaming spring, surely you'll reach the hot spring in the cave. And there are still a few hours of daylight left, and it's bright and sunny, which somehow makes it even a little colder. You can see your breath as you walk ahead. and steam's rising. It's a very mystical landscape. And eventually, you can hear the bubbling of what must be a hot spring up ahead. And there are puddles of mud here and there. And all of the puddles of mud are bubbling with subterranean heat. And beyond the spring, you can see up ahead in the mountainside is a jagged cave entrance. It's at least twice the size and twice the height and 3 times the width of any of you. And there's a putrid smell coming from the cave. Now, you had been told that Wendell would be sleeping during the day. Did you want to try to sneak in? Or what would you like to do?
Thor's going to turn to Umlaut and say quietly, hopefully, with the intention that nobody else would be able to hear.
Oh yeah, they're too far away. You're a few feet away. You can whisper to him.
I think we can probably reason with him.
Okay, well, I know you do like to reason, but this creature, I do not know if that is possible. That seems very far-fetched to me. But I will allow you to try, but first let us see if he is even home and see if he is sleeping.
Yes, okay. Well, let's go inside and look around anyway and see what's going on.
Okay. Now, is any of you particularly good at sneaking?
I would think if anyone was going to be good at that, it would be probably me, just because I'm not a big,
take a look at your skills.
giant guy.
This is GURPS, so you got a lot of skills and stats and advantages and all that to keep track of.
I've got a stealth of 14.
So I think that's great. But if you don't have the stealth skill, never fear. You can still try to be stealthy. All you have to do is roll against your dex minus 5. Defaults to your dex minus 5. And
Well, I've let Umlaut scout ahead.
Okay.
Well, I got an 8.
Okay. Well, you're quite stealthy. And you get up to the very entrance of the cave. You peek inside. And the smell is just almost unbearable. It's almost unbearable. But you can see this huge slumbering form. It's kind of dark in here. There's not a lot of ambient light coming in from the outside. But it's hard to tell. It's like a huge lump, but this thing's got to be... You can only guess how tall it would be when it would stand up. And it's facing away from you. You're going to see like this big, butt crack and hairy back. But the skin is kind of a yellow-brown, and there's like bits of mangy gray-green fur all over, and there's a heavy snore. And definitely sleep. The skin, in fact, looks incredibly thick and tough. And at one point he yawns and rolls over a little bit, which might startle you. But then you can see his face, and he's extremely, extremely ugly. And when he opens his mouth to yawn, you can see these huge rows of sharp teeth. And he's got long claws on both his fingers and his toes. And, of course, you're just peeking into the entrance. If you want to get any closer to him, you'll have to sneak up again.
No, I will go back out and tell everyone what I saw. The beast is real. It slumbers in its cave. It is gigantic, and it looks deadly.
So you don't think that it will listen to reason?
I do not think it would understand your words at all. And even if you try to pantomime something, I think it would go worse even than with the picks. I think it would tear your head right off. We cannot get that close to it.
But it is sleeping, you say?
Yes, it is sleeping at the moment.
Then I'm thinking perhaps that we should go in all quiet-like, and then I just cut its head off right away. And then we could just not have to fight it at all.
Well, yes, it's... do you want me to tell them, though, that... Do we want the others to stand out and then we can tell them that we did it very heroically? Because your method is not so heroic, but it is practical, and I am perfectly willing to keep that a secret and to say there was a great battle.
Yes, I mean, we don't have to... I mean, we can make noises, and if I can cut its head off in one blow, then we can, I strike my sword against the stone and scream and make it sound like there's a big battle, and then we come out victorious.
Yes, I think that would work, but we'll have the others stand out in the entrance away, and then if you are not successful, we will call them in. But I'm sure with your strong arms and your strong steel, you will slice off the strong neck of this beast quite quickly.
I have the most confidence. Thor does. I don't.
Right. Well,
I'm sure this is not going to work at all.
I think it's a wonderful idea. Well, first thing we got to do is sneak in there. And after Kari's brothers aren't happy about it, and neither is Brendan, but they agree to, let you two go in.
We must test ourselves as warriors. We appreciate you as backup. You will come in if we call you, but otherwise you are to remain here and let us do our business.
Brendan begins to pray.
No, don't fall asleep. What are you doing?
I'm praying. Now I've got to start. I've got to start over now. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be. And he goes on with his ritual. But you guys sneak in. Now you do have the luck roll, which I don't know if you want to use that for this if you happen to fail, or save it for a blow. But you've got your luck advantage, which lets you roll 3 times for one thing and pick the best. But maybe you'll make it. Of course, you've got to sneak back in Umlaut, and then Thor has to sneak in for the first time, which will be his dex -5.
Yeah, which isn't... So I'm probably going to have to use it here, but we shall see. Yep, I'm going to have to use it here.
Okay, well, hopefully you can get it. Just because you can roll 3 doesn't necessarily mean any of them will be successful, but you could pick the best one.
That's 2 failures.
Uh-oh.
Maybe third time's a charm. Hey, third time I got a 5.
All right. Well, what about you, Umlaut?
And I got a 7.
Okay, well, you sneak in, and you can see everything that he has explained to you, Thor, and, it's quite fearful to see the great body of this thing, but you guys have to... You've been very sneaky, so you can creep across the room, and, it's laying there, its huge claws. You can see this thing's got to be 12 feet tall when it stands up. I mean, it's twice the size of you, and much thicker and fatter and heavier. And you would like to just try to cut its head off in one blow?
So I assume Thor has done a lot of sword swinging in his day, reluctantly, but given the size of this thing, does he think it's reasonable that he could even pull that off? Because it seems unlikely to me.
His skin looks pretty thick and tough.
In that case, I think what he would try to do instead would be to kind of change plans a little bit and try to approximate where he thinks the thing's temple might be, and just drive his sword tip into it.
So try to make an impaling attack, in other words. Which should allow you to double the damage it gets through instead of 1.5, right? And I'm pretty sure we got your impaling damage written down for your sword.
Yeah, there's cutting and...
No, it's just cutting and crushing. So it doesn't even do impaling damage. It's got like a blunt tip. So, but
oh, well, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work either. But but you can hit him in the temple, and hope for the best.
I mean, you could try to it wouldn't be any more. I was going to say you can try to slit his throat, but it wouldn't be any more successful than trying to chop his head off, probably, with his thick neck.
The good news, however, is that because you have a motionless and unaware target, you get a +4 to hit on this first attack. And, normally we weren't doing hit location, but I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so, it really doesn't give you any extra multipliers for damage. Well, it's really the brain that you're really trying to get to. But, with the +4, if you reduce that to a +1, you can, with penalties, you can do some extra damage to the head. But we're going to have to take some action here pretty quick, or he's going to wake up. You guys have been in here thinking for a while, whispering, shifting your weight around.
Well, I think Thor is just going to switch back to his original plan and try to just... Except his original... Well, to kind of his original... So originally he was just going to come in and try to, get it... swing down, if it's, laying on its side and, cut through the side of its neck. But I think assuming it's laying on its side, he will go around or, try to, cut the front, you know what I mean? To
get the artery.
Get the artery and or the, esophagus, and rather than trying to cut through the, spine.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and make your roll. You get a +4. This will be the funny one to miss. But you got a pretty good skill.
Funny for somebody. So +4 gives it 17. So that's going to be pretty hard to miss.
Pretty hard to miss on 3 dice.
So that's going to be a 6, a 1, and a 4. So that's 11.
It's 11. You certainly hit. Crack. And you can't dodge or anything, So go ahead and roll your damage.
It can be, 2d plus 3. Looks like.
Yeah.
10.
Okay, so it's actually going to be 15 points of damage. Boom, boom, boom. And when you hit, and you can feel, you just hack right into this thing's neck, and blood definitely comes out. Now, of course, the thing's got quite a few hits. You remember, GURPS, you got the split health scores where they got a health slash, extra hit points. So it doesn't kill it, but it screams at the top of its lungs and leaps up to its feet. When it towers over you with blood gushing out and the blood pours down on you, Thor, it screams at the top of its lungs. I need both of you guys, when you look up at this thing, to make fright checks. And to make a fright check is essentially a type of will roll, which is your IQ. And if you fail it, let me keep track of how much you fail it by. That will be important.
Oh. I missed it by 6.
Okay, what about you, Thor?
Well, Thor needed, an 8 and got a 10, so he failed by 2.
Okay, failed by 2. Okay. So, both of you roll 3d6 and add it together, right? And then add the amount you failed by. And we're looking at the fright check table now. And so...
Jeez.
So
19 for me.
16 for me.
Okay, so Thor, you are just absolutely stunned. You're stunned for, oh dear God. You're stunned. I'm going to let you roll this because I rolled a 6. You are stunned for, you said 16? Roll a d6. You're stunned for that many turns. And then every turn after that, you're going to have to roll to snap out of it. I mean, the only way you could, if you were to be injured or something, then you would be able to snap out of it enough to run away. But you're just like, when you see the thing loom up above you and scream, you're just like, you just freeze. You know, your eyeballs go wide. And how many turns will you be stunned for?
4.
4 turns, better than 6. So your jaw drops. You just look up at this thing. And you said 19, Umlaut, is what you got? Yeah. And you actually faint. You faint. It's a faint. And you're actually going to, I mean, you would have no way of knowing this. You're actually going to be, I just rolled 10 minutes, which is like an eternity in GURPS time. 1 second turns, right? You just, eyeballs roll, then you just faint. You just fall down faint. And your friends all rush up to the room, right? I mean, they all, Gunnar and his brothers and Brendan, they all rush up into the room, and when they see the monster standing up, they see Umlaut lying on the ground, and you're covered with blood, Thor. But you know it's its blood. But Brendan,
They don't know that.
Well, they don't know that though, right? And Brendan, fucking A, Brendan, God is with Brendan. Brendan has got a critical success. He's not afraid. I am not afraid. The Lord is with me. He screams. His voice echoes all over the cave. Gunnar, oh God. Okay. He fails it by 2. So I'm gonna roll the 3. Okay, I get a 12, and lose your lunch. Gunnar vomits out of fear. He just like follows me, vomits, and begins retching. He does this for 15 turns. It's just throwing well, it's really 15 seconds, but, you know, in combat, he's just...
was it like one long 15 seconds of him projectile vomiting?
Well, for flavor, I think he should run up. He should have run up behind Thor and seen this monster, and then vomited like onto Thor.
All over Thor's back, right? Like, and running down the back of your legs, and getting inside your mail coat. And you're never going to get that puke out of all the chain links, you know, on that little mail coat. It's going to stick in there and dry. It's never going to be the same. Now, I don't really want to sit and roll for 10 more. There's 11 brothers who haven't died. I'm just going to stretch things a little bit, and I'm going to roll for all of them, but I'm going to give them a little bonus, you know, in the aggregate. And, oh, no. So, they fail by 5, so I'm going to roll... Oh, God, I've got a 16 plus 5 is what, 21? Panic. Kari's brothers run around screaming or sit down and cry or do something else equally useless. They don't run away. They're just like, ah! They're just screaming. This is a horrible situation. It's a horrible situation. Brendan is the only one who's not... And so, while you guys are fainted or running around in a panic or stunned, Brendan is going to run in and attack. Normally, like, Umlaut would go first, and then Thor, and then Brendan, and then Wendell, but he's 6 yards from Wendell, so he's going to have to make a wild swing, which is at a -5. And it's better than nothing, but he misses it. And then Wendell, and he says, "Back, spawn of Satan, the power of Christ compels you," and he keeps trying to swing at it. Wendell's going to attack him, and and that is a critical. It's a 5, but it's a critical success if your skill is 15 or higher, right? So he's going to do his swing damage with his claws, which is 4d plus 4. does 23 points of damage to Brendan, which puts him at negative health. He has to make a health test or die, which he does. And
He
if
does
you
die,
were,
or he does make
he
it?
dies. He does not make the health
Okay.
test. Brendan is absolutely just ripped apart, and this is this is terrible. I didn't even expect it to go this badly, but never really played with the fright check table much. You don't play with that thing, and Brennan, he's gone to meet his maker. And if you were awake, Umlaut, I'm sure you would see the angels taking him away. But Wendell, just for fun, I guess he'll probably go attack Gunnar too. So I don't want to kill Thor too quickly here right out of the gate. And Thor is at least, I mean, Gunnar looks like he's trying to get his shit together. He's just retching. But he's going to hit Gunnar too. It's not a critical, but he's going to roll his, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18 points of damage, which again puts Gunnar negative. And Gunnar fails his health test and dies. And I'm going to say at this point, just for drama's sake, one of the brothers, Bjorn, who he's your follower, right? Umlaut, so Bjorn and Helgi, your followers rush up and they grab you. They're like, for the love of Thor, wake up! They're smacking your face. We gotta go, get out of here! Please, wake up! And they like drag you.
Just drag me by my top knot.
They drag you by your top knot, which wakes you up. I mean, you're fainted, but nothing to say you can't wake up. But do you want to drag Thor the hell out of here?
Yeah, I will just like as they're dragging me, I'll drag him.
Yeah, you
hold on to him.
Yeah, the rest of them, they get their shit together enough to at least run away, right? We're not going to make them stand here in circles, get one by one beaten down by Wendell. But you guys go tearing off back down the hillside, running away back past the hot springs, past the pools of bubbling and boiling mud. And you turn around, Wendell's actually chasing you. He's gone out and he doesn't seem to like the daylight. He's like holding his hand up over his eyes. But he's chasing you. You got a good head start on him because it took him a while to decide he wanted to come out of the cave into the light. But you guys go tearing down into the town or the village, and you rush through the gate in the turf wall. And some of Ingolfur's men are up standing on the turf wall, and they're shooting arrows at Wendell, in the distance. And Wendell stops just outside of their arrow range, starts picking up huge rocks and throwing them into the village around you. One of them, he's I'm not going to make him roll for it, but he's heavy. He's tough enough he can pick up some pretty big rocks, and one of them smashes through one of the thatched roofs. But then he seems to go away rather than continue to get peppered by arrows from a distance. And all the villagers are all looking at you guys in obvious disappointment of the outcome. And Kari runs up and says, "What has happened to Gunnar? Where is my brother Gunnar? Oh, Thor, what has happened to Gunnar? Thor, are you okay?" She says, and you're covered with blood, Thor.
And vomit, yeah.
And vomit.
Well, I'm not... I don't think that annoying priest got killed. I think Gunnar also got killed by this abomination.
Oh, no. Oh. And Kari, even though you're covered with blood, she buries her head in your chest and weeps the loss of her second brother in just a few days. But it's a grim world. It's a grim world. Anyway, though, Ingolfur comes out with his sons, and he's shaking his head, and he says, "Thor Thorson, Umlaut Topnot, your companions. You have run. You've shown cowardice. That is not the Viking way. You should have fought to the death and gone to feast in the halls of Valhalla. Had you done so, you would be feasting in Valhalla at this very moment. But I cannot allow you to settle here in Iceland. You must seek your fate elsewhere. Keep the gold I gave you as my gifts, and the respect I have for the memory of your father. I will seek some greater hero to fight and kill Wendell. Perhaps Eric the Red or Egil or some other, but not you. And Umlaut, actually, you suddenly look over. Brendan is standing next to you. He said, "You'd better do as he says, brother. Keep your bad temper."
Seem like a force ghost.
Yeah, he's like a force ghost. He's like semi-transparent. He's like, "You better do as he says, brother, and keep your bad-tempered friend calm. I don't think you can take all these lads." And Kari says to you, Thor, "Let us leave this terrible place. We can't bury my brother, Gunnar, so promise me that you'll raise a stone to him in some high place in a new land so folk will remember him."
Well, my stone will be raised now that priest is gone.
Well, I'm not gone. Tell him I'm not gone anywhere. He says to you. And of course, obviously, you're the only one who can see him. And, yeah. But whether he's truly like a force ghost or whether it's just your delusions, we'll never know. And once again, you sail away. This time into the gathering dusk beneath the dancing lights of the aurora. And where all the spirits are being carried to the halls of Valhalla, and the night winds will carry you off to the west towards your fate. And we'll find out what that is on our next episode.
Hey everybody, if you like our podcast, don't forget to leave us a good rating and or review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or wherever you're able. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Goonies_world, and check out our website at GooniesWorldPodcast.com. Email us at GooniesWorldPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.